The small village of Pedrafria was known for the absolute silence that reigned after sunset. But on a cloudy night, Julia woke up to a sharp and persistent sound that seemed to come from within the walls of her century-old house. She got up slowly, her eyes still heavy. The sound ceased for a moment, as if it were lurking. Her bare feet touched the cold floor, and each creak of the boards heightened her silent fear. In the hallway, the air felt denser. Julia felt a shiver run down her spine. The clock in the living room struck 3, the same hour when, years ago, her grandmother had mysteriously disappeared in that very mansion. In the kitchen, a chair rocked by itself, as if someone had just gotten up. The noise returned, a sequence of metallic taps, short and rhythmic, coming from the attic that had been locked for decades. The attic key was hidden behind the portrait of her deceased great-grandfather. With trembling hands, Julia retrieved it. Each step to the stairs felt like an eternity, and the sound seemed to grow louder, filling her mind with strange images. As she turned the key, a crack echoed like thunder. The door opened slowly, revealing a stifling darkness and a smell of old mold mixed with something she couldn't identify. She climbed slowly, guided by a weak lantern. The noise stopped as soon as she reached the top. Everything was covered in old sheets and dust. But in the corner, there was something new, a wheelchair with recent marks on the floor. The wheelchair faced the wall, and behind it, an old tape recorder was on, but it played nothing. Julia approached and pressed the rewind button. When she hit play, a voice whispered, "Did you hear it too?" The shock was so great that she dropped the device. The voice sounded like her grandmother's, but it carried a distorted, almost inhuman tone. Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut on its own. In the dark, Julia tried to force the door, but it was locked from the inside. The recorder turned on again by itself. The same voice repeated a phrase, "Wake up before he comes." Julia turned around. She was no longer alone. A shadow crawled across the ceiling, defying the laws of gravity. The eyes, red as embers, stared at her without blinking. The noise returned, now accompanied by a panting breath coming from all sides. Julia screamed, but no sound came out. It was as if her voice had been stolen. The creature extended a thin, misshapen arm towards her, while objects around her began to float. In a flash, everything turned white. Julia woke up lying on the attic floor, unsure how she had gotten there. The recorder was off, and the door was open. But on the wall, there was a phrase written in charcoal. "You listened. Now you belong to him." As she descended, everything seemed normal, except for the portraits in the living room. All the old paintings were turned away, except for one, her grandmother's. In place of her eyes, empty holes seemed to watch Julia closely. She tried to leave the house, but the door was sealed, as if it had never been meant to open. The phone didn't work, and there was no signal on her cell phone. The noise returned, now continuous, coming from within her own head. Today, the house remains there in absolute silence. They say that those who approach can hear a distant metallic sound, as if something were tapping in the attic. But when they go to check, they only find silence. The noise that no one heard and no one survived to tell. Clara woke up with her heart racing, cold sweat on her brow. The room was dark, except for the faint glow of the moon filtering through the curtains. She had dreamed of someone calling her name, but the voice didn't seem to come from the dream. She slowly got up and went to the bathroom. Upon turning on the light, she felt a chill. The mirror was fogged up, even though no one had used the shower. With her finger, she wrote her name on the glass. Just below, another word appeared, "Come back." Her stomach churned. She quickly wiped the mirror and stared at her own reflection. But something was wrong. Her eyes in the mirror blinked out of sync, as if they weren't in harmony with hers. She returned to the bedroom, trying to convince herself that she was just scared. She lay down and closed her eyes. However, she felt the bed sink as if someone had lain down beside her. She turned quickly. Nothing. The next night, the same dream. The voice, now clearer, said, "You promised." Clara woke up crying, not understanding what she had promised. The mirror, fogged up again, bore a new message: remember. Clara began to research the house. She discovered that the former resident had mysteriously disappeared. A lonely woman, known for talking to herself in front of the mirror for hours. Her name? Clara Martins. Clara's heart nearly stopped. She shared the same name. This couldn't be a coincidence. She began to believe there was something in that house that needed to be uncovered or confronted. She decided to face the mirror. She sat in front of it at midnight. The reflection blinked independently. "Who are you?" she whispered. The image smiled, but Clara did not. It was as if the mirror reflected another person. The image in the mirror began to bleed from its eyes. Clara screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the silence of the house. When she tried to leave, the door was locked. The mirror now showed her empty room. "It wasn't a dream," murmured a voice behind her. Clara turned quickly, but she was alone. In the mirror, however, the other Clara was approaching, on the other side, banging hard on the glass, trying to get out. The following days were tormenting. Clara avoided the mirror, covered it with sheets, but it always appeared uncovered in the morning. Messages appeared: "Time is running out, switch places with me." One day, Clara woke up and found herself on the inside of the mirror. She screamed, pounded on the glass, but no one heard. On the outside, the other Clara smiled, free, living her life. The real world was now the reflection. Time passed differently in the mirror. Days felt like hours, years blended together. Clara saw everything. The imposter living her routine, deceiving everyone. But she could never communicate, only observe, a prisoner. Until a new resident arrived. A young couple bought the house. The imposter had left. The mirror was now just an old ornament. Clara banged, tried to warn, but no one saw her. One night, the new resident, curious, sat in front of the mirror. Clara tried to scream, and for a second, the glass trembled. The woman stepped back, frightened. The next day, she covered the mirror. Clara remains there, watching, waiting. The mirror is her prison. And when someone gets too close, she tries to touch. Because one day, someone will hear. And she will be able to say, "It wasn't a dream. It was me."